Hello, it's Ariana. We are live. Okay, I can already see someone watching here. Hello, Free Wind. Welcome, everyone. We'll just let everyone log on that wants to join us. The match, Japan against Brazil, is still in the last minute, I think. So I will check if it's ended yet. What a match it's been. Quite intense. So it's still going. I think it's the last few minutes. So let me know where you're tuning in from. Write it in the chat. All questions regarding football and filmmaking are very welcome. And we'll start very shortly. So even in the 98th minute, Brazil exchanged the player again. So they are still going, I think. I'm not watching live anymore because that would be kind of difficult. So Brazil only got the second goal in a few minutes ago in the 95th minute. So really high stakes. We're going to talk about that right now. Okay, so where are you tuning in from? Hello, Free Wind. Great to have you here from the US. That's great. Yeah, I'll just introduce myself very shortly and then tell you what this live stream is all about. Of course, as you might have gathered from the thumbnail and from the title, it's about filmmaking and football. So I'm gonna bridge the gap between those two, or better yet, use an analogy from football to explain some of the basic stories, principles in filmmaking. So if you've never been on my channel and if you're just watching now, welcome. My name is Ariana. I'm a filmmaker from Switzerland and this is my first live stream. Why? Because I just crossed 50 subscribers on YouTube last week. Yay! And that's the requirement to go live on YouTube. So before that, I would not have been able to go live even if I had wanted to do so. So today it's about football and filmmaking. By the end of this live, you will know what the World Cup can teach us filmmakers. So let's look at this match. Thank you. Let's look at this match for a second, Japan against Brazil. Have you watched it? If so, what is your reaction to how it all played out? I have prepared something. We're gonna get into it now. So you can see here, we'll start with Act 1. So the beginning of the match is always Act 1. We're getting to know our characters. In this case, the team we're cheering for, and that's the protagonist, and the opposing team is the antagonist. So first, also, if you watch the match, you have the commentators that are telling you some backstory. You know, this player had this injury and the trainer surprised us with letting that one play and so on and so forth. And, you know, in the last games, this and that went on. And so this team is actually the favorite or, you know, more likely to win. And the other one is the secret favorite candidate. I just read that Japan was supposed to be in a quite favored role. But, you know, Brazil, I haven't watched a football match in a long time. But I just heard Brazil and I was like, well, whoever is up against Brazil is going to have a hard time. Turns out I was right. Okay, Japan was your protagonist. Nice. So you were cheering for Japan. Yeah, I mean, I just took a look at the game just now. I could not watch the whole thing because I do have small kids. But I saw that Japan got more yellow cards than Brazil did, which you can read into that. What does that mean? How did that come about? Well, they might have, been more forceful at, trying to get the ball, because Brazil actually had the ball almost 70% of the time. So that means they were having the upper hand. So this is all Act 1. We're getting to know our protagonist, our antagonist, and we're getting into the adventure. They have to face each other. Every single player on this field has to delve into the adventure. All the Japanese players. Okay, I'm playing against those other players on the field right now, and I have to make the best of it. Yeah, so it's the focus is this match, and for the players that already received a yellow card in this game, or some games before that, that would add up. So if you've already got a yellow card and you receive another one in this game, I think it goes 3 games back or something, then that 2 yellow equals 1 red. And what 1 red was, what does that mean? That means you're off the court, so you cannot play for this game anymore, and also for, I think, the the next 2 games you're also not allowed to play. That also means a lot of raising the stakes, a lot of risk also for you as a player, and for the trainer that has to bear the big picture in mind. Where are we at? Which players are most likely to get another yellow card, which have a clean slate, which are not at risk, and so on. Yeah. So then we go into Act 2, and in the middle of Act 2 we have the midpoint, meaning that would be the halftime break of the game, so 45 minutes, because soccer lasts for 90 minutes plus the additional time that they do of that. So in the middle break, of course, the trainers can do strategic moves, depending on what happened in the first half of the match. Do I want to, give some people a pep talk, or even a warning, like you're being too aggressive, whatever? Do I want to exchange someone? Of course, I can also do that while the game is running, and so on. Hello, X Fomin. Welcome. Glad to have you here. So is Brazil your protagonist? Well, you must be very happy right now because they won. And I'm just explaining about Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. I'm talking about the structure of a screenplay, because this is a filmmaking channel and I'm using the analogy of soccer. So either way, if you're a filmmaker as well, or you're just in it for the soccer part, very welcome. So the stakes are raising all the time, as you can see here. Why? Because of the element of time. Also for this match, I mean, Japan did have the first goal. It scored the first goal, and so they did have the upper hand in the beginning. But Brazil still did have more. In terms of how often they had the ball, Brazil was up there. So the pressure was on for Japan. Of course, they might have been very relieved because they scored the first goal. But in the second half, Brazil kind of upped the whole ante, and it paid off. They did do the first goal, so it was equal for a bit. In the 56th minute, Casemiro scored. And then stakes were high for everyone again, because you cannot win a match with equal scores. So both teams had to keep going, stakes raising all the time. Why? Because again, time. This match is lasting for 90 minutes, maybe 95, 96, 98, but that's it. And nobody wants to go on to, we alternate in having direct goes at the goal. So, we have to seal this deal as quickly and as efficiently as we can. So Japan, I saw that they really were quite aggressive. As I said, they had more yellow cards than Brazil did. Why? Because they were kind of desperate. Brazil did have a lot of alterations in terms of exchanging players. So that was interesting. And after the 90-minute mark, it was still equal scores. So the stakes were higher than ever. And, people are on the edge of their seats. And that's actually what we are going for when we're making a film, right? So that's why the stakes are so important. Mm-hmm. Where in the game was the climax? Yeah, I've got it here. So I think when the 90-minute mark came around, that would have been the climax for me, because we all know, now it's only a few minutes until also the extra minutes are used up, and then it's down to the nitty-gritty. So yeah, and then we did have some corners, it intensified. You could see that it got more and more intense. And then we did have the second goal for Brazil in the 96th minute. So that's what I would say the climax is, or was. Yeah. Did that answer your question? And do you agree or do you disagree? Yeah. So again, we've got 3 acts in the screenplay, and Act 2 is the longest. And so that's why the midpoint, that is also a big twist, It's a really important mark in your, I'm talking about the feature screenplay anyway, but of course, broken down, you can also use this for shorts. But the midpoint, like, it's not enough to have one big plot twist and, then the other 90 minutes we just let it roll. No, you have to increase the stakes all the time, which means, of course, we have conflict in every scene, but we also have to have higher stakes all the time as the film, or the match in this case, goes on. And of course, we only have 90 to 120 minutes to tell our story. So yeah, the climax, there's the point of no return. Right before that, the climax, and then the climax is the beginning of where everything is resolved. And so the point of no return, the name already says it, but it's really, you have to think that as an audience member, there's no way that the hero will reach their goal. So coming back to the 2 teams, protagonist, antagonist, the antagonist's job is to prevent the protagonist from reaching their goal. And that's why the football analogy is kind of on point, because Japan's job, they only had one job, which is to prevent Brazil from winning, and vice versa. So yeah, that's how you can really remember, okay, where am I driving at here? Is this, am I going in the right direction, or am I losing myself in my story? Yes, free wind is exactly. If a player gets hurt, that could be a plot twist. Yes, definitely. Yes, very much so. So, of course, like in the terms of football, if a player gets hurt, yeah, if they cannot go on playing, then the trainer has to make a decision. Who do we let play instead of the injured one? And of course, it does alter the game. Like if it's one of the top players that was very offensive and really, going for the shooting towards the goal and so on. So that's very, very vital that this player can go on. And of course, we don't want to have anyone injured. That's another thing as well. But in terms of tactics, for the trainer and for everyone involved, that of course is a plot twist. And same goes for, if you're rooting for your team. Did anyone of you that is watching feel like there were fouls that did not count as fouls from the official side, that were not penalized? Maybe you saw something that you thought this would have been a yellow card, but no one interrupted, no one did anything, said anything. The referee did not interfere or intervene. I mean, that's where the audience rooting for the team comes in. You as an audience, you're rooting for your protagonist usually, and if you think they're being treated unfairly, that shows that you're invested in the story, and that's what we want to achieve. So again, that's where sometimes the fans, the loyal fans, get very frustrated with the referee, with an opposing player, or so on. So how do we achieve this? That the audience is invested in our story. Of course, we create characters that are memorable and unique and a little bit likable. They don't have to be extremely likable, but they just have to be real. They have to be relatable to a certain extent. Like, can I understand where this character is coming from, what they're going through, what their motives are for acting in a certain way, Exactly, we have to care about them. That's exactly where I'm driving at, Prewind, yes. So again, this is true for your favorite team that you just saw playing, and it's true for also for your protagonist in your film. Yes. And that does not mean that we condone any behavior that they might have. We just have to have some understanding for them and care about them. That can also mean that we would do it differently if we're watching, That's okay. Yeah, but we have to care about them, definitely. Yes. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please ask them in the chat right now. Otherwise, I would wrap it up for now. I think I've made my point here. Just briefly, I have a video coming out this week, probably Wednesday, that is talking about how I managed to rewrite my feature script in just 6 hours a week, because I am mostly at home with my kids and don't have that much time. So watch out for that one. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for being part of my first live, and have a nice evening. And I'll see you in the next one. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye. Oh, how the director can impact and affect the direction of the story. Well, yeah, that's a very complex question, but with every decision you make as a director, you can impact that. So if you have your story, first of all, you have to have your characters straight. And I also have a free resource that is on my channel. It's a character bio template that helps you fill, if you fill this out, it helps you create memorable characters, which I was touching on just now. And if you know who your characters are, that's kind of the first step. Then you build your world and you make an outline. This is exactly what my next video is going into in depth, but I'll just outline briefly here. So you make a story outline, which is basically, what is my film about? What is the premise, the basic story? Where is my main character at? Why does the story start where it does? and what is the beginning, the ordinary world. Then we have a call to adventure. For Harry Potter, that would be Harry, in the ordinary world, he's with his aunt and uncle, and he doesn't know that he's a wizard in the first film or book. And then he meets Hagrid, and Hagrid tells him, "You're a wizard, Harry." And this is his call to adventure. And then he's being drawn into the adventure, which means he's allowed to go to Hogwarts. So that would be the beginning. And then he gets to know the world. So the audience gets to know the world through the eyes of the main character. So in this case, what are the rules of this special world, of the magical world? How does it work and everything? And then we also meet the other main characters: Ron, Hermione, Dumbledore, McGonagall, and we hear of Voldemort in the very beginning, and then, of course, we hear about him throughout the story, and that's also where the climax happens, in him facing Voldemort for the second time in his life. Um, and then how can the director impact the story? So this first film was directed by Chris Columbus, and of course, J.K. Rowling, the author, had built the world, and Steve Kloves had adapted the screenplays for Harry Potter for the first book. And so the director's job now is to, I have this screenplay, I have this world, I've also read the book, of course, and now I have to think about my inner world. How do I want to make this tangible for an audience? And taking the example of Harry Potter, you might have noticed that, for instance, the Dementors look different every time we have a new director. So, especially with Alfonso Cuarón, the third film, it's kind of a little more, how should I say, a little more out there, and that's his handwriting, just his creative vision. So, that is to say, you as a director, if you are a film director or you strive to be one, welcome to this channel, subscribe, because that's exactly my topic. You have so much control over, what is my vision? How do I see the world? What's my perspective on the world? How does my inner world also look like? Like, if I have an image in my head, this is so tangible. If you read a book, everyone that reads the same book has different images in their head, right? So, and as a film director, you get to adapt your images that are in your head for a big audience. In the case of Harry Potter, a massive audience. um, and so it's also about developing your own creative voice, which is something our time needs desperately in the face of AI, more than ever, in my opinion. So, what is the message that I want to bring to people? And the director's tools are so multifaceted. Our job is to basically work with all the head of departments. Departments are, camera is a department, which also encompasses lighting. It's the same department, and costume is one, music is one that comes later usually, but still very important. Sound is one, sound on set, and then of course also sound post-production. I also have a dedicated video on that on my channel. Music, as I said, makeup, like in the case of Harry Potter, you have special effects makeup, like beards or special effects, or whatever, like wigs as well. And if someone has a different nose, like Nicole Kidman in The Hours, she did have a different nose, and so things like that. The costume, as I said, production design, which is where are we shooting. This is my wall that I always film in front of if I can. And this has a certain effect on, how does it make the audience feel. So the director's job is, in short, to always think about how can I lead my audience, how can I make their experience in watching this film as immersive and as congruent as possible. So that every decision that I make as a director has to have the same aim, the same goal, meaning, okay, I want this, the audience to feel XYZ in this scene. I want them to be very sad because the character that's on screen is very sad. That's just one example. And the more nuanced you can shape this, the better. And what helps in achieving this, of course, the actor's performance, but also like, how do I use the camera? What movements do we have? What focal length? What framing? Everything do we have? What costume? What props? What weather? What location? It's like so many things. What sound? What is seen on camera in terms of sound? What is maybe also happening off camera that might spark curiosity or even fear? Like the possibilities are endless. But just to paint a little bit of a picture of the massive tools we have at our disposal as directors, which can be overwhelming, but they can also be a great thing. Like, if you are able to work with all those departments and work well with them and have a clear vision, and that does never mean to dictate. You don't dictate as a director because you are aware that everyone working on your film it's like a team effort, a collaborative effort, and that is key. And this mindset really has to be at the forefront of everything you do. The way you talk to people, the way you involve them, that's basically what will make or break your film. And the result will show if you've been able to do that. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you for this great question. That kind of took me on a little bit of a tangent. If you want to know anything more about film directing, I have quite a few videos on my channel on how to become a film director, how to be a film director, how to resolve imposter syndrome, and so on. Thank you very much for your wind. So kind of you, and thank you for being here. Thank you everyone that showed up today. This was the first of hopefully many more lives to come, and if you're subscribed to my channel, you won't miss any future videos or lives. So thank you very much for being here. Have a good one, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.